Hello everybody and welcome back once again. My name is Jordan, also known as JMonster, and today we're going to be taking a closer look at our Halloween map asset pack and one of the maps that will be coming with it. I hope to have this pack finished in the next 3 to 4 days, and from then on I will leave it up for 4 weeks, so a month, so we get about halfway through November, thereabouts, before we take it down for the season, and then it will be available again later. But yeah, so let's take a look at the map I've been working on. I previewed it a little bit in the last live stream, but it's quite far along relative to when I showed it off to you the last time. It's not 100% finished yet. I do have some people going over it for me, as I would like this map to be fun and competitive. But it is based on, of course, the Dota map. And I've been giving it a little bit of Halloween lighting. It's best played with 3 to 4 people, but you've probably noticed that, yeah, it's the Dota map. So we have the two sides. We have Dire and Radiant split in to 3 different lanes. In total, there are 9 crossings across the river. There's 2 on each of these raised platforms here, and there's going to be a lot of different elevations that you can play with. And they're going to make use of terrain and, of course, the Halloween assets that we're loading into our pack. And then in the central area here, you're going to have 5 of them in total. So there's going to be lots of ways to get across the river. It's not really much of a hindrance. It's more of an aesthetic piece at this point, because there are just so many ways to get across it. And there's also a lot of elevation that I want to exploit. But let's play with the settings here a little bit. We can actually have some legitimately spooky Halloween weather that's not too dark and still shows off a lot of the cool stuff. So this would be the equivalent of the bottom lane for both the Dire and the Radiant side. We're going to look around in the on the Radiant side. We're just going to fly through, take a good look at some of the detail that's in there. Again, it's not 100% finished, and the Radiant side is by far the least finished of the two. But this is one of my little favorite parts of the map right here, is this little slope into this area. You can see those skulls, and there's this sort of mournful elven maiden statue. And the impression I wanted to give was that this particular lane was once owned entirely by the elves, hence ruins like this that you're going to see here. But it's since been taken over by the forces of darkness, corrupted, turned into something of a spooky little wasteland. Let's see some of the small little details here. And then I've painted all the paths in here custom in what I figured would be a fairly logical way that doesn't, I guess, take away from the terrain side of things. It doesn't look weird, doesn't look kind of too extra. Hopefully it looks logical, and it does kind of add things to the map. Now, as I mentioned, elevation is important in this, so you're going to have a lot of ways to get up and down places. So we've got one of those Botet towers here, which you can see through the trees, a little chaos tower, and there is a way up through here. There's going to be several other paths. One will take you up to the first level, but there's actually another area here that'll take you from the first level, from like ground level to the first, and then all the way up to the highest point on this little peak here. And a lot of these paths have been painted with making that apparent to you in mind. So you're going to know that if there's a path somewhere, you can go along that path and you can go through those areas. Doesn't mean that it's exclusively confined to places where there are pathing, like the little dirt paths and stuff that I've painted on here. But it will certainly make it clear for areas like these little cliff sides here, or this little smaller area, that yes, you can in fact go through here. This is totally passable. Won't look too much at the Radiant side of things just yet. There are a few other little details I want to show off. Right here at the river crossing, you're going to see some of the assets lent to us by the Botet team. So you have a little chaos shrine here, and that sort of overlooks this river crossing, and is the first thing you see when you're going to come across to the Dire side. Right over here, I actually quite enjoy this. So I took the old orc skull signposts that we've had in Reforged and Silmarillion Total War forever. And I drop their elevation down, and I turn them into little crosses. And then this area here is kind of like it's like a crypt. So it was nice to be able to do that. And they're sort of uneven and like haphazard. And I also made sure that the roads that I painted on actually go around that area for quite a while, just to sort of maybe give you the impression, if you were looking for looking at the details, that it's not a place that you want to go. Even the people who live on the dire side, the orcs and the other filth of Morgoth, etc., they avoid this area for quite a long ways around. And then from there, as you move up the middle lane, you're going to come to this little orcish checkpoints. There are some fences and some stakes here that they can use to try and keep you up. They'll be able to rally around them, and then of course that area is dominated by the second tier of tower for the dire side. And I've used these little crystal towers over here exclusively for the second tier, and that's the one from the top lane as well of the dire towers, just to kind of keep that consistency and keep that uniqueness as well. From there, this is the little main sort of dire base. It is slightly raised up as it is in on the actual Dota map, but not quite as dramatic of an incline, because there are some pretty big gameplay implications for that in Total War, and I don't want the map to just feel like if you get the wrong elevation that you lose. Like, I want there to be lots of like counterplay and lots of options, and the sort of thing that makes it interesting and like viable well beyond the Halloween event. And then from there, there's this little Guldur Keep. This is more or less where your fountain would be if you were playing actual Dota. And there's that little second tier here, which is sort of the fountain-y area. And there's actually, you can go through these ruins here, so it looks solid, but you can actually pop through that little opening there, so it's not completely blocked off, and the path sort of leads you into that area. Of course, you can go around it, and well, no, you can't go through the red side, but you can of course go through there, and that might surprise some people. Yeah, we'll look on the other side. Some ruins, have another tower here, sort of representative of like the final Dota towers, like the third tier of towers. Got these little fences as well. And these fences have been in the mod for a while, but it is worth noting that when this comes out, it's also going to come with a lot of fixes for some existing objects, so they don't affect as wide an area of terrain, so they're not as disruptive when you go to put them down. Unfortunately, they do still place a lot of vegetation, so I recommend that if you're using any of our assets, not just the Halloween ones, but any of them, that you do your vegetation last. Yeah, so then we move over here. Little orcish sort of compound. They've got skulls warning people to go away. They got a big old ugly banner here from Mordor. A little bit weird to have in the first age, but I only have so many spooky assets, so that's one of the ones that we used. And then we'll move over to what I believe would be the top lane. So you have that third tier of tower that we saw there. And this is where the elevation gets a little bit more dramatic. To be playing more with it here. It's a little orcish hunting camp. I have to improve some of the terrain textures in here, but I will do that eventually. But it's just filled with like filth and skulls of their victims and a few dead trees here. The dead trees are actually natural barriers as well. You can pass through some of the normal trees that you place with the Medieval 2 vegetation tool. But these ones are custom little assets that you place individually, and they do have pathfinding, so you won't be able to pass through them. So you can use them when you're making stuff as sort of a natural barrier, and I do that on the other side as well. You'll see it when you have a chance to play with it. Over here we have one of the mercenary camps, because of course there are creep camps in Dota. It wouldn't be Dota without creep camps, and they do offer you some interesting terrain advantages. So you have some forest terrain up here, which means that you can actually hide units in here. And this little raised up area is, I believe, impassable from the front, so you can use it as kind of a little bunker. But that being said, it is quite exposed, so if someone were to, say, get up here, they'd be able to rain down death and destruction upon you while you're in there. Yeah, just offering a little bit of counterplay for holing up in the little mercenary camp. Over here, we have the second tier of the top lane towers, looking all creepy. You can pass through here, but it will kind of break up your advance and will make it a little bit more difficult for you to set things up next to the broken trees and stuff. And that extends all the way around here, but you will be able to kind of pass through those trees and move to the other side if that's something that you feel the situation demands. Over here, overlooking the whole thing, we have a currently under construction, as you can see from the scaffolding there, statue of Sauron. And this is one of the assets that's already available in game. But yeah, it's just there to sort of on the front lines to be sort of a taunt, I suppose, to the other side. And then across there, we're going to get into the Elven side. But this is a little important thing here. This is one of the feedback I had from some of the experienced competitive players that I ran this map by, is that because of the way the deployment zones are, there was the possibility for a bit of a rush in here. So you have this little barrier to partially choke point it here. I don't want to completely discourage the possibility of a rush in here, but it is sort of a risk-reward proposition where you could find yourself bottled up and potentially choke pointed and massacred in the wrong sort of situation if someone manages to stop your rush dead in its tracks, or to bait one in order to put you in that situation. Now, we'll briefly go over some of the Radiant side, but I'm not going to go over it in too much detail, but this side is a little bit more complete. I'd say it's actually completely finished. So yeah, this is a little elven, the remains of like an elven temple in here. You can see there's forest terrain on the ground, so you can hide in here. And it's important to note that all these little archways and stuff, you can actually pass through them. So it's not an impassable barrier. There's another one over here. And you can get through those two little areas. So there's a possibility of launching ambushes and things like that through here. You'll be able to pass through this archway, of course. And everything looks a bit smaller in the battle editor, but you could probably fit about 3/4 of a unit of 120 through this gate. So it's not like a big choke point or nothing. And then, of course, you can just get around it that way. And there's a possibility of launching ambushes if people come onto your side, or just hiding things here. Again, I just wanted to give people a little bit of options. Now let's look through this little area, because this is a nice area with a lot of character, I think. So there's this pathway that moves through here, and I should probably actually smooth this out a little bit. Don't worry, those trees will come back eventually. You can pass through here, and you've got that overlook there with the Elven Tower and the two little statues of the Elven Maidens. And you move up here into what was formerly another little Elven Temple, or like a larger watchtower, maybe where a garrison was housed, just to give you the impression that this is sort of this has been a long time battleground. And both sides have dug in over time, and maybe they're even starting to reclaim certain ground. But you'll see that when we go to the other side. It's a little bit more prominent, I think. And then you pass through here, and you're going to find another elven lamp tree. And that's just out in front of this little copse of trees here that surrounds an end moot. And now I haven't done a lot of the terrain tiles on here, but this will look not quite so flat when I'm finished with it. And it'll look a little bit more green in certain areas. And then along here, if you actually look at this, there's several ways across this little barrier. There's an entrance here, here, and here. And then that's going to bring you down to this area, which looks like it was formerly a fortress. See the remains of some crumbling walls there. Some elven lamps still remain, though they're looking like they're in sad shape. There's the remains of a tiny little watchtower over here. But from here, you're going to move down into another terrace, and there should be at least 2 ways up there. Yeah, there's one here that goes directly to the river crossing, where your opponents can come over here directly, and they can split and then, get around here, get around your defenses, so you can't just bottle up at these 2 little choke points indefinitely. But of course, they can make you pay for that by using the elevation. So there's sort of a trade-off here for this little shortcut that you take. Other than that, you can go up here, and then you can get around and pressure any garrisons that leave up here in the ruins of that fort. And then, of course, there's one big old entrance that takes you down here, where it's a little bit more lived in, a little bit more closer to the Radiant base, so things are a little bit more civilized. You're going to find more civilian structures, such as these two little farms that you're seeing right here. And each one of them is going to have a little elven lamp, and you can see some dirt texture here, sort of giving you the impression that this area is currently being cultivated by whatever elves currently live here. I'm sure nothing bad will happen to that cute little farmstead. No orc or zombie or dragon invasions that will happen. No, sir. Up the center here, this is going to be the center lane for the Radiant side of things. Got some little barbarian villages. Again, these archways here, you can actually go through them, so this looks solid, but it's not as solid as you'd think. You can go through this little area as well, maybe a nice place to sneak a bodyguard or something through. Of course, these gaps here are passable, and then this area is as well, and that leads to the sort of central crossing where you're going to get into the Dire territory. Oh yeah, one little detail I missed is there's actually an ambush spot here for the Dire side, where this big old rock pillar is. And there's an orc tent in there, and some other little trimmings and trappings giving you the signs of life, but there it is somewhat obscured by the tree line. And then we're going to pop back over to the Radiant side of things, but first we're going to take another look through the Dire side, because I actually really like this particular side. I think this would be, yeah, this would be the bottom lane for both teams. You have a little chaos altar here, surrounded by some blackened trees, and then go down through this little main path. There's dead trees, skeletons, the remains of some elven ruins. Then you pop over here, a couple of elven lamps, and some statues of elven heroes marking their territories. You got a cute little elven farm over here. So they've slowly begun to reclaim this area, despite the presence of all these elven ruins. You can see they've erected several watchtowers. There's this little ruin over here. There's this tower here, and then there's another small terraced point here. It's going to have an elven guardhouse and, of course, a watchtower. Yeah, so that uses a lot of our Halloween assets, which you guys can expect in the next few days. Before I start to host some games on our tester build, why don't I see what Chan is up to right now? What's going to happen? This is going to be a special scenario battle map or something. My hope is that it will be both. Like, I want to run a scenario on this. In multiplayer, the deployment zones are basically perfectly split right down the middle, with both teams being equidistant from the 5 central river crossings. Or the 9, actually, in total central river crossings. There's lots of elevation, there's strong points and weak points for both sides. There's the possibility of lots of counterplay there. So my hope is they will be used for both scenarios and for special, or not special, but just like multiplayer games, that you can use it outside of the holiday events and still manage to have fun, fair games with it. That's my hope. I'm just going to pop the stream here into a few different places, because we're about to start gathering some people for some multiplayer games. Hopefully I can do about 2 of them, and I can talk about some of the new changes we've made since the last stream was up. But I'm just going to be just a moment here. Let's see what else I missed here. Hello, Amir. I'm well, man. How are you? Thanks for joining me today. How many armies will die on this map? All of them. All of the armies. Great Bugatti. It looks cool. And I hope it plays well, too. I am pretty satisfied with how this has turned out so far. And no, Matt, I am by no means a master of map making. That is most assuredly WK. This is just something that I really like. And I really like the level design side of Medieval 2. So I think we've basically covered everything that you could expect to see in here. Now, it's not 100% done, so I'm not going to show you a battle on it today, but we are going to play on the test builds. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the changes that have been made on the test build so far that we're currently engaged in looking at. And yeah, all those things are not exactly final at this point. We've only really just started testing in October. But yeah, it still might be fun for us to kind of look at and play with. And so, I'm going to go ahead and start a multiplayer game here. We might have some difficulty finding our testers. This is a bit later in the day. Usually I stop streaming at this time rather than start it. Let's try and pick something spooky, maybe. The Grove of Angolan can be fun. We could do it sunrise. Actually, there's a trick to this. So if you're playing on these custom maps and you want to specialize weather, there's a little trick I can show you. So what you're going to do is go down to one of your siege maps here. You're going to pick, if you want to do winter, you could pick winter. Why don't we do that? Why don't we do like a spooky Halloween night in, I don't know, Alberta or something. We could do a light fog, and then we could do sunrise, and I think that might look really good. So from there, after you specialize your weather settings, head on up to wherever you wanted to play at, and I think that was the Grove of Angolan for us. And then you just click next, and it's hosted, and you're good. And if you have to rehost, or because, I don't know, it crashes, or you just want to play another game, then you have to do that each time. But that is hosted. Let me see if I can pull some of our testers into the game for today. I know there was a number of them that were eager to jump in this time around. In the meantime, I'm going to take a look at chat here. If you guys have any questions about the mod or about the Halloween asset pack or what's going to be in it or, hell, factions and all that sort of thing, people always want to know about Gondolin. Ask me all you want to know about Gondolin because they are definitely the focus of the next patch. Are there any requirements for being a tester? The only real requirement I have is that you're active and helpful and patient because sometimes testing is work. Sometimes I screw things up and your game will crash, or sometimes things will end up being hideously unbalanced as we, try out concepts and try out new stuff. So as long as you're willing to work with us and be reasonably active and also agree to the certain conditions like not sharing our test pool with other people, then I have no problem adding you as a tester, Wally. I've played with you a few times. That'd be lots of fun, I think. Spooky, scary skeletons. Give me, yeah. It's the traditional anthem of Halloween in North America. One of the other things to note is that we will be hosting another stream tomorrow, and I hope to get a map and scenario in that was designed by Rex, and it's going to be like a zombie holdout kind of thing. Lots of Hishbulkraz howlers and some elves trying to hold like various levels of a town center surrounded by ruins and stuff. Yeah, it'll be kind of cool. It'll be like a Raccoon City sort of scenario. So I hope you guys will join us for that. I plan to start that reasonably early tomorrow, probably around our normal time. So for me, that's about 8 or 9 a.m. Pacific time. For the Europeans, that's usually about 8 to 7 hours ahead. So do the math there based on your time zone. What is the patch, just like a summary? Sure, well, it's not done yet, so it's hard to summarize everything that will happen, but one thing I can tell you for sure is that it will have Gondolin, and Gondolin will be getting previewed this fall, I hope. And I might have some big YouTubers to do that for you, so that'll be really exciting. But Gondolin will be the focus of it. I hope to have a sort of testing roster for the dwarves so that we can do a Nir Naiath Arnothiad scenario, which would be a lot of fun. And then from there on, we can use that to make our proper mod introduction, as I do have an editor hired to do that. And then there'll be some other cosmetic things like Elven weapon upgrades, for example. So when you upgrade your weapon, the weapon will get a new model, and not just, armor. But those will be separate. So you can not have an armor upgrade, and you can have a weapon upgrade, and that will be something that you can do. And those will be coming to Doriath and all of the Elven factions, basically. That's one of my things I want to do. And that's more like a cosmetic change, but I think there are some gameplay implications there, so you can tell kind of what has attack upgrades, and that can maybe be important for you. And like reading the situation visually. Yeah. There's lots of stuff like that. Lots of stuff to come in the next patch. Oh my goodness, we filled up with 4 testers already. Well, I should probably close my mouth for 10 minutes and focus on getting us into a game. Let me just pop this onto Reddit. Maybe we can pull some new people in here as well. We'll be Agband in this particular instance. This will be interesting. So Agband has been a really strong faction for a very long time, and I've been trying to find ways to work around it. And one of my newest ideas is lowering their response to morale shocks. Because specifically I want to target the mid-tier build, which was kind of superseding all other possibilities for Agband, and obviously that's not a good thing. You want the faction to be interesting and not one-dimensional, and part of that is having different builds for different scenarios. So, with that in mind, a lot of the Agband mid-tiers have had their morale response to shocks decreased. So it is easier to make them run if catastrophic things happen to them. Rear cavalry charges or just attacks from the rear, being surrounded, the death of a general, taking a morale shock, which basically happens when a unit takes a certain percentage of their overall remaining models in casualties in a certain period of time. I think it's like 3 to 4 seconds or something. If you lose 20% of the unit, then you suffer a morale shock, something along those lines. Yeah, so those are a little bit more likely to make the Agband mid-tier spam army route. And one of the big weaknesses of that army has always been sniping the general. But even when you did that, sometimes they just still wouldn't run away. They would sit and fight. So now their response has been decreased, and we'll kind of see what the result of that is. So today I'm going to play with it, and we can be the judge of the results. It may be that the implementation needs to be tweaked a little bit, but we'll play with that. Let's see here. When I get time, message you. I will certainly do that. You can always send me a private message right now, Wally, because I know you're in the Discord and you have the ability to do that. Just send me a private message as a reminder, and then when I finish the stream, I'll figure that out for you. Will we be getting faction intros? I would imagine eventually, once the campaign is farther along, that's something we'd want to do. That's kind of an important detail. The first thing we are going to be working on, however, is the mod intro, so the video that plays when you first start it. Currently, I think it uses an old Reforged one, which I made, but has not aged well. Not at all. But this time I have actually contracted an editor who's a film student to do that properly. And I'm going to pay him for that. So it should be something like quality and professionally done at the end of the day, and not just something I threw together over the course of 2 or 3 days. Yay! Okay, everyone's kind of where they need to be. So Toll and Gaudhath, they're kind of scary. And I said I would play with the mid-tier build just to sort of get a sense for how that works. So, for those of you that are just joining us now, we are playing on our test build, so the things that you see are, of course, not final. And one of the big things I'm working on is the Agband response to morale shocks, because they're super strong right now. They don't tend to run away under circumstances where they probably should. So if my army melts after the death of a general and you're like, oh, this is ridiculous, how could you let this happen? Agband's supposed to be scary. It's a work in progress. Just don't worry about it. How do I want this to play out? There is like a standard mid-tier army that brings a couple of mangonels. And it seems likely that we'll have an artillery duel before anything actually kicks off. But who are we playing against? We're going to be playing against Tundra's Fox, and he is well aware of that particular build. So, something we could do instead is... no. Maybe I want Spear Guard. Yeah, they're important. Now, the Spear Guard have a minor morale buffing effect, so that could be pretty significant for keeping the rest of our Agband roster from running away at the drop of a hat. Ironshod Ravagers are also significant. Really nice anti-cavalry tools. Shock troops generally in Silmarillion Total War are actually pretty good at trading with cavalry. If you charge into any cavalry that's charging at you, especially with like low melee defense axe units like these guys, you're going to take horrendous casualties, but your charge damage is high enough, and sometimes your armor piercing, that it actually does help you trade really effectively, so they can act as a blocker. Might be a bit harder to do without morale support for these guys. So we're going to try and rush him a little bit. And the plan here will be put our wretches on the front line to try and draw some of the mid-range missile fire, and then spread out our phalanxes a little bit atypically. I'm going to put them at 3 different points on the line rather than putting them all in one spot altogether where they can be blown up by stray mangonel fire. So one of the things that I'm always afraid people will do against me when I play with mangonel heavy builds or artillery heavy builds generally is like utilize mobility, split up their army, just present so many targets and spread them out enough that like you just can't get the value you need off of your mangonel. So we're gonna try and do that. We'll see if it ends up being any good. So I mentioned the Agband response to morale shocks. The Ironshod Reavers are one of the units that kind of do ignore that, because they're just a little bit squishier. Because they no longer have an armor upgrade. They're considered more medium infantry than the heavy infantry of the Ironshod Legionnaires and so forth. Thralls might actually be a really nice thing to have. Just because a lot of the Toland Gauderhoth units are not super well armored, that we don't really need the crossbows, and the extra range will be helpful, and so will the extra numbers, especially if we're trying to maybe shoot ash priests to death from afar. That's something that the thralls can be good at. We're gonna have to like repel cavalry. This is gonna be a really micro intense battle, and I might just completely flop, but you know, it happens sometimes. So we're gonna, because we have so much extra money, I'm gonna hand out some. They may not need it as much as I think these lads will. This will improve their morale and hopefully prevent them from running away at the drop of a hat. I'll drop some attack upgrades down on these guys. Should be able to outfit these lads here. Anti-expo, anti-cav, maybe. Expo, cav, flying spears to fend off cavalry. I don't think we'll need the... I don't know if Gervais is in here, but I'll just say my thoughts out loud. I'm not sure I'll need the crossbows here, because all their stuff is so lightly armored. And the crossbow... or no, the thralls in particular have a special little trait that makes them do extra damage against cavalry. And that's one of the big strengths of Toland Gauderhoth, so I don't think that they'll be needed as much. And I do have some anti-armor and other things here that I can leverage against their infantrymen, so that's significant. Also hand out some armor upgrades there for those guys. I guess you can have them too. We've spent most of our money there. I think we can do that. We'll see how it goes. But I do have lots of spears, lots of halberds, kind of beefed up my line infantry a little bit so they won't just like flee if things get to be too much. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. It could be a disaster. It'll probably be a disaster. It's honestly my first time playing with Agband since the ooh, look at that spooky forest. Yeah. And then of course all of your foliage will respond to that new climate, and then you lose all the foliage and become these kind of creepy looking trees, which I really like. I don't even remember where we're playing anymore. What map is this? All right, it's the Angolan Grove. And that does remove a lot of the veil of, I don't know how to say that without it sounding weird, but it removes a lot of the leaves so you can see things better. So that's kind of handy. Turn that off. Okay, so if he's gonna mangonel, what I want to do, maybe do things a little bit differently here. Spread out my halberds so that they're not all fighting in one spot. Put these guys right in front. The halberds are still a little bit faster than they probably should be, so my purpose of putting them out in the front is to give them a bit of a head start, so that when we run, as we inevitably shall, these guys won't overtake them for, well, quite as quickly as they otherwise would if we started them on the same line. So by the time we get there, hopefully, these guys will basically just be on top of each other, and I can smash them into a line and then turn the spear wall on for them. You guys can go here. And we're gonna do sort of a, I don't know how to say it in Latin, triplex acies sort of deal. Or we'll leave these intentional gaps in the line and we'll use them to leverage the charge bonus of the Iron Shod Reavers. Put these guys here. I could see this kind of chunky formation being a problem with the mangonel fire though. I'll put a unit of you lads in front. Archers will be right here. Our wings, like so. Spearmen out in front to prevent any cavalry charges, but also to soak fire. I'm gonna have some wretches out there in the wings. This is looking more like a Warhammer multiplayer army deployment than it is a Medieval 2 one. As Warhammer does favor kind of looser formations, whereas Medieval 2 maintaining your line is really important. Spear guard, I have you out here, I suppose. Do I want them out here? We'll sort of offset them so they're a bit closer to the center so they can defend the bodyguard, and we can run the bodyguard to them if we have to. It's probably the smarter thing to do. Actually, why don't we switch the Reavers out with the Ravagers? That'll probably give us more bang for our buck. And we've got some reserve units here, plus those other two Reavers, and we can do things with them. So I'm gonna put the Ravagers. We could get some cavalry through there, so I will put them out here as sort of a surety in the event that we get some of those nasty wargs that come our way. So you're sort of not where you need to be right now. I'll put you here. We'll off-center you, and you'll notice one of the things that I like to do with my armies is to layer them and have sort of like interlocking kind of pieces, I guess is a good way of thinking about it, and that's just so if I need to reinforce things that are in like certain areas, then I have something that's centrally located, and it's just easier to get where they need to go. Like if they have to go left or right, then they have a smaller path, or like a shorter path to take than if I put them on the extreme left or the extreme right. So that's why that's being done. Then got a whole bunch of reavers here, and maybe we'll just keep them as like sort of a reserve line, and we'll see what needs to be done. That's like a big cumbersome force though, isn't it? Covers a lot of ground, but it might be necessary if we are going to be playing against Omegano, because we don't want to get toasted. Not like really early. Oh geez. Oh, did I break Medieval too? It doesn't seem to like us very much, does it? Maybe it's because it's too spread out and the game's just like, no! Stop being creative with your formations. What's wrong with you? The AIs, or the game's kind of slapped me down here, isn't it? Shit. Oh, fuck me. Can I say that on stream? No, apparently not. Oh, now I have to redo all of this. That's really irritating. We'll do it as quickly as we can. Okay, and then I believe I had you guys at the back here. And then you are sort of centrally placed just in front of them, so I put you there. And the same with you. You can go here. And our other two wretches I had placed like right out here, I think. That sounds about right. What are you doing? It's okay. I'm gonna put you a bit farther forward. And there's my other wretch unit. Hopefully this time it actually keeps my formation. That was a little bit weird. I'd love to know why it does that. Everyone is where they need to be, with the exception of my other Ravager unit, who I kept over here. Alright. Please let me keep my... Oh, I don't know why it's doing that. Well, maybe if we break it into groups. You can be one, and you can be one with one. Yeah. Oh yeah, guess we need you too, eh? I'll put you here. We'll also put you into one, because that makes sense. And you guys, I want to keep you nice and safe, so you can be part of one as well, as can the wretches. How are we doing so far? Well, let me do that. Yay! That's good. And then you guys can also go into one. That's important. And then lines 2 and 3 can be 2, and the rest of you can be 3. That makes sense. Okay, let's move up. Yeah, see? There's those mangonels. This is what I expected. Oh, lag. Oh, extreme lag. Good gravy. Who's this? Unless my power went out. That's possible. We are having a windstorm. I wonder, am I still even online? It's possible that I'm not. No, I definitely am. So it's not me. My power hasn't gone out. Maybe Steam just updated on us. See if someone crashed. That's probably what happened. Oh, Tundra crashed. Well, I guess we'll just rehost it. A 2,000 strong Twangautroth army. That guy was very heavy on the cavalry. That would have been an ugly fight for us, especially with that response to shocks. Well, let's try it again. Winter, light fog, sunrise. Specify our weather settings, and we'll go back up here. And we'll play on... Where is it? Where is it? Oh, it's right here. Oh, well. That sucks, but... Probably couldn't handle all the weather, I don't know. Couldn't handle the cold. Sissy. Spear guard. And then I think I had thralls? Something like that? That makes sense to my brain. Oh, I definitely would have given these guys the upgrades. There we go. That should be our comp from the last time. It's an interesting comp. I actually get to use some chevrons this time. I'll just ready up while everyone moves to get back in. But while we sit here and get everyone back into the lobby and hopefully don't have a crash this time around, I want to talk a little bit about some of the other changes that have happened in this iteration of the test builds. One of the things that has become apparent and that is important is that as factions change more, some of our previously very strong factions like the House of Orphan or Assyrian, for example, do need a little bit of a little something to sort of keep pace with all of the other new and improved factions, I suppose, like Gondolin and like Twangautroth, who's got a lot of buffs in this patch. So, with that in mind, some of their sword units have got better for both of the factions. So the Stalkers of Tala and Falroth for the House of Orphan, the little sword ambush unit, they've got some one extra melee defense, attack, and charge value, which is nice. So they hit a little bit harder, and they survive just a little bit longer. The Assyrian Elves, their Skirmishers of Wrath L'Oreal, another dual-wielding unit just like the Stalkers, can now upgrade their attack a little bit cheaper. And that's true for all mid-tier archers. So the other affected units are the Scouts of Gelion and the Sentries of Gelion. the foot and the mounted mainline archers, as well as the detachments for the skirmishers of Rathloriel. In addition, the skirmishers of Rathloriel now have an extra cap they can bring, so they've gone up from 3 cap to 4, so you can just bring more of these kind of more offensively oriented units that are a little bit better in melee. In addition to, skirmishers of Rathloriel's melee defense went up by a little bit due to a change in how I calculate dual-wielding stats. So their melee defense is now 11, up from 10, which is doesn't sound like a ton, but it does kind of help. Helps them stay alive, and they got some other nice little patches or buffs in previous patches as well. So they're a little bit more. I should give the totally counter on the players their money instead of jabbering on. They're a little bit more. See at the end are a little bit more reliant on those guys for some kind of cheaper mid-tier damage dealing, like numbers focused damage dealing. They yelling out their money still? They did not fix? It's possible they didn't. No, it's fine. Yeah, hopefully we can get this match off of its feet. Sucks when people crash, especially after I took an excessively long time going through the particulars of my deployment. But I know for people who are out there watching for like maybe the first time even, or just inexperienced with Medieval 2, that kind of comprehensive breakdown does go a long way for helping people like understand the game, draw enjoyment from watching it, and then maybe even get into playing it. So all of those things are important. So that's why I get all long-winded about simple things like moving units around the map, because there's decisions that go into all of it. Oh. Hopefully they have the same compositions. Oh well, it doesn't matter. Now we can quickly set up our build. The lid is kind of off the surprise somewhat since Tundra's crashed. I'm sure he saw our massive horde of orcs and the spread out formation we were using, so we'll see how that ends up. How that ends up affecting the match in the long term. Alright, so you go there. You go there. You go there. Actually, we better leave their spear wall on, because that's the source of their speed. So I'm just trying to gauge, like, I want these two units to smash into the line at the same time, basically. Put you here. And actually, I'm going to need the wretches with experience somewhere else. These guys are basically just out here to die, so if they run away, shit happens. Could be a problem if it spooks the rest of our troops, because they don't like it when their friends are out. It's, I guess, understandable. Though I imagine orcs don't have the same respect for the sanctity of life for their fellows that some of the other factions do, nonetheless. No, let's move this over a little bit, actually. So we've got, I want to widen those gaps a bit. So that our axemen can smash in there. That'll be a pretty scary 1-2 punch kind of deal. If we can pull it off. I mean, this could just be a completely foolish idea. Maybe stray mangonel shots will burn their way through these guys. In either case, it won't matter too much. Reserves. These lads here. We're going to be running wide at Tundras, and our army's going to be kind of swinging, so it might be that he goes after the general. So I'm going to put him over here, because this is the wing that will be moving the most, to, sort of on the axis, so it might end up missing. The mangonels might miss more if they go for the general, but we'll see. Ravagers. I want them here. I don't know, it's sort of a risk because it might be that the other Tolan Galahroth player will just have their hands full. And I don't need to have the extra, like, kind of net of surety, but it's possible that I will as well. I want to put them a little bit farther behind. And then you guys. Oops. You can go here. The other one can go over here. And of course we have you guys. Put them there on the wings. These guys will be a little bit more centered. I think that's everybody. So let's make sure that this works. It does. Good. So they'll actually stay in formation this time. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. And then you guys can all be group 2. That'll be our reserve forces. I don't have the 3 of them this time, which is nice. All right, we're ready. We'll see how this goes. This could be a total disaster. I'm honestly wondering if, like, maybe I didn't overdo it on the morale response for the Iron Shod units, but I don't know. We'll see. It'll take more than this game to determine that, of course, but it should be a small clue, a piece of the puzzle. Creepy winter. Yes, indeed. Have a little drink. We're good to go. Alright. Oh geez, so they're gonna switch entirely. Well, I guess we run them down? I don't know if we'll be able to do that in time. We might. One of the things about artillery is that even though I have increased their speed to make them a little bit more friendly to use in the battlefield so they don't just plod along like awkward elephants, like dyspraxic elephants on roller skates, they are still slow, and an army can really only move at the speed of its slowest member. So, looks like they're going to switch around. So maybe what I'll do, send reinforcements to Gervais, I'll send him my reserves, and we'll just chase him around, I guess. Did I see a ballista bolt or something? No. Oh yeah, that's one of the other changes. The Orcish factions no longer have ballistas, and that is to allow some viable counters to the mangonels without having them destroyed by the pinpoint accuracy of ballistas and then bombarded to death. So that's just to counteract the strength of the mangonel, which is quite significant. Yeah, he's totally changed the strategy based on, I think, what he saw of me the last time. Oh, Rex is very spread out indeed. Oh my. Well, maybe we can pin Tolan Galahroth against this river here. That's certainly a possibility. gonna take us some time to maneuver this lumbering beast over there. And we are gonna run to do it. We'll stop when they start to get warmed up, and then we'll walk for a bit, and then we'll run. We'll just maintain a good, solid pace. Mangonel already going off. Cooking what? Cooking thralls. That's allowed. You're allowed to have a thrall barbecue. They're expendable. That's kind of what they're there for. So throw all the thralls on the Barbie that you wish. Oh yeah, he's gonna turn that cavalry around. That's what I was kind of thinking. Maybe try and harry my advance. That would certainly be a problem. He is close enough to be able to do that. We'll have to do some organization on the fly if indeed that becomes a problem. So I need this wing to swing around here as quickly as they can so that I can begin the advance. I might start to break parts of them off here to sort of stagger our approach. So what he's got there, macemen and such, they wouldn't be able to stand against even one wing of my infantry. Ooh, that's pretty ugly. Yeah, throwing the trolls of Gothmark in there. Not a good idea. They're just gonna die. Like, they're just gonna get killed by Throng Sheik and all this nasty stuff. The wretches will never be able to get over there in time. There's too much cavalry over there. I don't think that's a good plan. That's a waste of resources. Alrighty. Let's break off these guys. They make it a bit wide. Keep them where they are, though. Might be able to move up now. Yeah. There we go. Warmed up. Okay. Everyone can walk. Iron shots where they need to be. Oh, they're winded. We're going to give them some time to recuperate then. Have them walk over here. And begin to advance. I don't think he's going to be able to turn them around in time. Look at this like hard maneuver right across the river. I'll turn this into a river battle. And then hide in here. Ugh. I understand the impetus, but we're hoping for a field battle, not for a siege. Apparently, we're gonna fight a siege. Put one of them here. Put the other one up here. Send some troops over here as well. I want to shoot trappers and blood drinkers and those sorts of things. I don't think there's a crossing here. So at the very least, we have them nice and bottled up, so their mobility doesn't count for quite as much. Let's be careful of those troll guard there, though. Yeah. It's a lot of dead Agband wargs. I got excited at how much dead cavalry. It's not the cavalry we wanted. It's time to maybe spread people out a bit. I don't have to worry about formations quite as much now. What we probably want to do is maybe bait some of this ammunition, though. It's actually kind of a juicy target there, so we'll target those long fangs. Target them there. It's got a lot of things stacked on top of each other. The Wolf Guard have heavy armor, but their shields are a little bit lower, so we might actually not do terrible against them. Plus, the wretches have a decent amount of ammunition, so. Oh my goodness, my allies is going right on to the offensive, isn't he? These guys need to go over here. These guys are still warmed up. He's probably gonna want my support here pretty soon. Well, those arbalists didn't appreciate that, but that was concentrated mangonel fire plus some morale shock. I'm surprised they don't run away. Okay, I should probably move in to try and help my ally. How's everyone doing in terms of like fatigue and so forth? Well, let's move my spear guard forward. Let's see. Still got these guys. Start moving them up. Don't want to run them. Not just yet. We're actually making some like progress here. Yeah, the wretches are good against like light and medium infantry. That's kind of what bow units are generally used for in Silmarillion. So we are kind of carving them up a little bit. I need to move some wretches forward. See if he was silly enough to leave some of his units on fire at will. Switch their targets a bit. Yeah, nice little crossfire there. Weaken that position a little bit. Didn't do much to the Wolf Guard. Well, let's see where our other troops are, though. They're warmed up. Probably need them now, though. Send these guys up this way, and we'll try to coordinate our assaults here a bit simultaneously. Actually, he's going to need help over here. So why don't I send one of my units to walk over there. And then he's going to need some reinforcements over this way. Oh, that might cause a rout. Are they going to hold on? They'll probably hold on because of the presence of all those other units. That will, I think, do. Crush them into the Wolf Guard, see if we can't surprise them. And slowly walk these guys forward here as well. I should move these guys up. That was an oops. I don't actually need both of you. Just you. Move for a surround here if we can. Let's cut up those warband, because why not? Actually cutting our way through here, surprisingly enough. Now out come the Blood Drinkers and other juicy targets. Let's move it on up here. Now that that's been dealt with, let's move these guys forward. One over there to shore that part up. You guys can go over this way, and you can move to support them. Move our spear guard over here, so I want to use them as a push. Move my general ever so slightly forward, because we may end up needing him. Get him, boys. That's okay, we'll have them eat that, because that's what they're good for. My halberds in there yet? Not quite. Oh, Jesus. It's going to hit them as well as it hits us, though. guys up here for support. Pop them into their shield wall. Get a little counter charge here on those blood drinkers. And we'll put some missile fire in there as well. That might help out. Oh, you stupid thralls. Get back. What are you doing over there? Oh, these guys actually routed. Yeah, they were too close to the action. You guys are routing. Who told you could do that? We're starting to have some mass routing here. Yeah, this is not really a typical sort of field battle. I didn't really expect they'd turtle up with 4 artillery pieces, but you know, sometimes shit happens, I guess. Still, it's not the most honest way to do a field battle. More reinforcements for the center then. Especially since they adjusted when they saw what we had because there was a crash. That's kind of lame, but still there is some hope. Rex might be able to win through, but I don't think so. Good, they're back. Our bulldogs are here. They should stabilize this a little bit.
Only half the enemy force remains.
I'm thinking we'll get some of these guys back from routing too. This is me too? Cool. Let's bring some of my units back. This is just a disaster, isn't it? Let's blow that horn. Stabilize things a little. Yeah, get in there, boys.
They have lost half their men.
Good, these halberds came back. That's precisely what we needed. What do you want from me? Check your own back line, boy. Well, see, Rex would be able to defend himself if he didn't throw away his cavalry for no reason. But instead, he took a frontal attack here against a cavalry faction with trolls and not really useful units for that sort of thing. So I think this assault here might fall apart a little bit. What the hell? Let's push through here. This might be enough to break down that line. Yeah. Bring your cavalry in there. My spear guide will love it. These guys have done their thing. Well, so far, I'm surprised that we're able to hold on the way we are. But then again, this is Tolangauerhoth infantry. Yeah, there's a big break.
Only half our force remains.
Definitely got to keep our bulldogs next to our army. Unfortunately, we won't be able to do anything sneaky with them because we need their morale support. We've seen how easily these Agband troops will flee. Okay, so we managed to rout them off. I don't know how his general's alive. That was a shitstorm. Ended up not being super close. I kind of thought we were gonna get boned on that one, but Agband mid-tiers managed to come through. But this is just, look at that. That's disgusting. I think that's where most of our respective armies died. Omegano crew, heavy fighting there about those pieces. Yeah, that was definitely D-Day. Rex said it best there, I think. Yeah, it seems with the mid-tier build, I think Artorius is saying it best down in the comments there, that the chain route can, well, it cascades, and it can melt your entire army if you're going to play with this particular build without some of the additional things. The real question is whether or not the Agband units like the Valoralkar, for example, are able to kind of make up for that weakness now of the Iron Shots, those morale shocks. As they do have a pretty potent Inspire effect, and they are useful for helping those units kind of win combat, which does have an effect on a unit's morale, I believe. Yeah. Can't believe we managed to storm that position. Like, look at that. It was just heavy fighting all the way. Poor Rex here. His army just got shredded. But yeah, if he had his cavalry, he would have been able to zone out some of those Hishpokrats. I don't think that this was a good engagement for him early on. And I probably underestimated the rate at which my units will rout, and I should have brought my bulldogs forward earlier. Would have been able to keep the pressure up on that assault. But luckily, some of them were trapped and they couldn't flee, so they had nowhere to go, and they just kind of stayed in position and maintained a barrier of flesh, which ultimately we were able to reestablish with some other iron shots. So it sort of worked out. But yeah, I definitely need to improve on my ability to play the Agband build. Die Sauron. Sauron's still alive. I don't know if I got anything that can kill him. Well, my bulldogs probably can't. Where is he? Oh, I don't see him. I can like sort of hear him. Like I definitely don't see. Oh, there he is. Dogpile. Get him, boys. Everyone dogpile Sauron. I managed to make him work last time quite nicely in that siege we did with Doriath. It was actually on the same map. And I call it a siege because, again, we had our opponent retreat inside of one of these, like, kind of choke points. Except they were in the town center last time. Sauron, the Lord of Wolves. Telekinetically floating a torch over his head. It's hard to see in that helmet, okay? He needs the extra light. Oh yeah, give him the smack. Oh, these orcs are gonna fall over and die. Yeah, he's gonna get some nasty kills there. He's a lot of attack, and all these guys are low melee defense. Oh man, it's a rampage. He's just going uphill, slaughtering people. As much as I don't like the way his animations are kind of janky, when he goes in a line like that through a giant blob, it's just so devastating. It just hits so hard. So when you can set him up in like good circumstances, Sauron does really well. We just walked right by Rex's general. Could have got swatted there if he wasn't careful. This guy going. It's probably gonna turn, yeah, over here now. Die already, you bastard. Just die, Sauron. Found a use for the Reavers now, less likely to break. Yes, that is by design, because I figured the Reavers would probably take casualties more quickly, because they don't have the armor upgrade, so they probably need that. Need a better morale response, otherwise they just wouldn't be a useful unit. So yeah, I'm glad to hear that that's worked out. A little bit more reliable now than your Legionaries, even though Legionaries can be more survivable. Just die already, Sauron. Look at this, just cleaving his way through all these orcs. I think Sauron alone is like really bringing this up. There's a lot of like pole arms and stuff in there, though. I'm surprised he's managed to survive as long as he has. It's just funny to me, because we haven't replaced the banners yet, so it's like these orcs like waving the banners of the Eye of Sauron or stepping to Sauron to bring him down. Sauron's just like, this is fine. Oh, come on, attack. You know you want it, buddy. There we go. Oh no, he's down. That's still pretty impressive, though. Sauron, I think, killed like probably 7%, 8% of our combined force all by himself. But yeah, it's a good game to those two. I was a little bit... I didn't like that we had to like assault these prepared positions. But you know, sometimes people do things that are unexpected. But yeah, they played well. Used the tools that they brought in the way that they had intended to use them when they brought them in the first place. So yeah, it's good. Let's see what we managed to do for casualties here. Spear Guard did well. Yeah, you're gonna see the 413 kills. That's probably from some routing units, I would expect, on the Halberdiers. I don't know. That's very surprising to me. But I would expect some of the more damage-dealing units and some of the higher-tier units now to be doing a lot of the heavy lifting, whereas the Halberdiers and the Legionnaire combination won't be necessarily the big, like, damaging combo anymore. You're going to kind of diversify a bit. I think it does give more of a reason for the Reavers to be brought. So with that in mind, I might even increase the cap of the Reavers even more, so that you have, like, this core of, like, more reliable infantry. Maybe I'll even kind of boost their morale just a little bit so they can better perform in that role as well. And then you can have lots of that kind of core infantry, but then like your really heavy stuff trades the survivability or the survivability, yeah, that heavy armor brings them with a higher chance to run away. Maybe that's the good way of going about it. I don't know. But that was an interesting game. I think I have time for one more. We'll see if we can get the testers for it. Let's go to... We'll do Braemar Castle. Braemar Castle does need a little bit of work. I don't know if Stu is ready to show that off yet. Could do Brethel Hamlet. This one still has too many trees, though. I remember this from the last time. Let's do War-Torn Plains. I haven't done War-Torn Plains for quite a while. let's see. Do we have any questions out there regarding Gondolin or the dwarves or the Halidin? I think the Halidin will probably be the next one that you see, but I am hoping to get like a provisionary, like a small test roster for the dwarves onto this patch when it releases. Don't ask me when that will be. That'll be very, very far down the line. But I do want to have some limited dwarven presences for scenarios, and I definitely want to get the Halidin in if I can, but Gondolin for sure will be available. So if you guys have questions about them, by all means, open up, ask. I probably have an answer, and if I don't, I can tell you why I don't have one. Oops, that was dumb. Good. Another person here might be able to get a 1v1 going. One of the things that I noticed during that battle is that because things route more often, you are like making more clicks per second to like cycle fresh troops back. So I think that might be one of the kind of interesting parts about playing Agband, especially playing with that mid-tier build, is like instead of just going in a big wall and just walking at people the way you can do now, it might even be necessary to like go in waves, and so when like the first wave inevitably routes, then you can start to keep an eye on things, then you'll begin to prepare sending in your second wave, and then the first wave will hopefully reform behind your lines, assuming you don't lose your general, and then so on and so forth, and then down to your third line, and then hopefully you've cycled back your first line by then, and then your second line can reform and rest a little bit, and that might just be the way to do it with orcs, which I think feels a little bit more authentically Angband. And it's a little bit more interesting to play. Like more kind of actions are going on rather than just like smashing your front line into things and then defending your flanks at all costs. And that's kind of how Agband is played so far. So that at least adds a little bit of spice to the mid-tier build. And then of course there's the other potential army compositions that you can use that have their own unique strengths, weaknesses, challenges, etc. and so forth. I'm going to play as Agband again. He's probably going to play as Doriath. So we're going to... Oh, I shouldn't say it. He might be on stream. I'm going to do something a little different. Yeah, I don't want these guys to run very easily. Only going to take 2 of them. Oh, I really dislike this bug. I wish I knew how to fix it or how to, like, ensure that it doesn't occur, but... This time it'll be a little different. I think the Thralls have a place in more armies now because of how cheap they are. Because of a lot of the lighter armor in the game. I think that I'll be bringing Thralls a little bit more often than I previously did. I'm trying to give them an armor upgrade. It's silly. Got that reliable core there. And we'll drop a couple of them. Oops. That'll do, I think. Might not be necessary for them to have this, actually. Since they're not really there to do damage. Let's do that. And dropped off one of these guys. Oops. Put onto them instead. Sometimes, especially on beefier units like this, just giving them armor is essentially an attack upgrade because they're dealing damage for longer and they're not dying as quickly. Let's try that. This will be bloody. Oh, I hope so. YouTube says the stream is on 7 Days to Die. Yeah, this is the new build of 7 Days to Die. It's like the super secret closed alpha. I don't know why it says that. I definitely didn't specify that in my little stream window. I'll fix it. Oh, I should start deployment. I was just thinking in my head about stuff. Ooh, yeah. I think what I want to do is something similar to what I've already done. It's possible he has artillery, which could be an issue for us. So this might end up being a mistake. But put these brave lads here. Spread them out a bit. I really want to concentrate their force here. So maybe put these guys over here. And then try and like bait an attack on this side. You guys don't want to hide, do you? Why not? Oh, weird. They don't want to do that. That's okay. So we're going to put them with 3 then. And I can kind of swing around this way. And put some wretches over here as well to screen. We'll make them all part of 3 together. And we'll need to send some guardians with them for the purposes of holding the line. Here. Also have some guardians nearby, just in case. Scum, surrender or die. Glad to see Rex is getting into it. We're actually gonna keep these guys back so that when we need them, they're ready. I'm gonna keep my reserves hidden as well. I don't want to hide. I wonder why. Oh, it's... I know why. Because most heavy infantry now can't hide in the woods. That's a new thing. So we won't actually be able to hide them at all. That's okay. But you guys... I do believe can. This will be interesting. These guys, maybe we'll leave them on fire. Well, for now. One man get out there. And the other one can go kind of like over this way. Moving forward. So that people, he actually does want to come forward and like attack them. And bulldogs can hang out over here. Well, this will be interesting. Definitely placed my mangonels well, because I don't think he can shoot at them through here. Probably trying to. Oh, damn. Not quite. Really wanted to explode on this Tyrion Lysdonin. That's the big thing. Yeah, perfect. See? They are actually put in a good spot. Let's try that. The angle on this might actually be really enjoyable. Haha, yes! Got some of the Tyrion Lysdonin. What we got over here? Cavalry. Prepare to repel invaders. Oops. Try and just stay ahead of the cavalry is probably the best way to keep pace with them. Nice. That's a lucky shot right there. Move them over there, move these guys forward, and layer up some more. Oh no, we got one of them. Try and get them back a little bit. Let's pull it right back over here. We can do indirect fire better than the elves can. Alright, shoot him in the back. lovely. She got a good piece of those Tyrian lice down in this time. Oh, you guys stop. So you can go over here. Guys can be a little bit centralized. Leave my men alone. Ugh. I'm good. Let's move it away. I do want to like eat some of that ballista ammo at the very least. Oh, I think the ballista's out. Maybe we'll break him here. Probably not, though. I should happily be able to return these guys to the front lines where they belong. Except for you guys. You guys have been kind of where you need to be this whole match. Actually, I'll move you back here. Actually, so these will use trebuchet ammunition, which is notoriously inaccurate against infantry. However, if we use a bunch of them at close range, we should be able to hit some stuff. Especially if he's nice and bunched up like this. these guys up there. Move you guys to the front lines. We're moving our thralls here to the front lines to sort of check those Tyrian Lystonin. Come on, boys. Let's go after my halberds. Might be enough to pull them into a pitched battle. And we'll shoot them. So far, we've managed to defend most of our halberds. They took some damage, but it was always going to be the case, wasn't it? In exchange, got a bunch of those Tyrian lights down, and we killed off some of those cav as well. That's always a nice thing. Yeah, he could probably rush here and like take my infantry on pretty nicely in close quarters. I don't know why he's not doing that, but I'm sure he's got his reasons. What we're gonna do is put a couple of siege engines in his way. Move them a little bit closer and be cheeky. My cavalry is active again. Let's see if we can move out here quickly and block them. They're gonna just narrowly escape. Sissies. Where's that cav hiding out? Okay, we baited some of his little rangers. Or not his rangers, but you know what I mean. Yeah, Now we know he's got more troops in the trees, which is kind of what I thought. Shoot, you idiots. Draw him back a little bit farther this way. Good. We'll keep him in place there and we'll shoot those things to death. Let's see if we can actually route them off here. We'll pick up the slack on this side. Yeah, maybe we can route them off. That'd be nice. I was taking a bit of damage there. It's going to collapse soon. That's okay. This guy's getting shot at right now. Who told you to do this? Oh, stop. What are we at here? 15 to 9%. So far, this has not gone well for him. Now we can pick up our mangonel and continue to be irritating. Hit even one of them, that'll be lovely. You want to charge into Spear Guard? Okay, cool. I will happily let you do that forever. Pull these guys out of there. That's the whole point of them being here. Spear Guard are there to just sort of help these guys get out of range while maintaining pressure. You could shoot the back of the Spear Guard for all I care. That's 12 armor. It's double his missile damage. It's just a waste of his ammunition, which is, you know, good for me. Tiny little unit Axeman, that must be the one that I brutalized earlier. So we probably ate about half their ammo in that exchange, which is not terrible. I can draw him back now a little bit. Yep, let him wind up. Doesn't even move yet. Oh, come on, you idiots. Move! There we go. Jesus. I'll move my thralls out here. General advance here. All right. Be aware of the Tyr and Lystonin, so I may need to reposition these guys quickly. Why'd I have to hit the run key 3 times? Come on, guys. This is why the Reavers are here. Bring the Bulldogs as well. You guys can come over this direction. Help me fend off that cavalry now. We can shoot at them until those cavalry are ready to go away. Where's my other unit of wretches? It'll take you a while to get over here, but I am going to need you. Let's smash into the side of those shield bearers. Guys around, go for a full surround on these troops. My axe guard over there. Good. Let me shoot those axe guard. They're a bit of a better target. You getting shot? Good. That's what we need. Shoot them. No, you stop and shoot them now. Thank you. Bring these guys through. One good volley is all I want. Okay. And your full-time job is to shoot them. What's going on over here? Axe Guard, we can probably take a nice bite out of them if we continue to shoot them. You guys, I'm gonna form up here. Bring my wretches now forward over on this side. This is probably where we can get the most out of those. That's second company of the, oh shit, we have some invaders here. What are we doing over here? Have we broken these guys yet? Oh shit, where'd these guys come from? Spear host? That's not so scary. And it's wardens of the girdle. They still have ammo. Let's move them over here. Are defeating them there and there. That's good. What we need is my general, though. Oh, this is bad. That's starting to collapse, so I need my bulldogs over here. Let's take these troops and send them around behind. Come on, boys, I need you to run. This is an emergency. Pull these guys out here, get that charge bonus off for them. You guys can be sent around this way. Reinforcements have arrived here. You attack them from behind.
Only half our force remains.
Everyone is back, looks like. Get in here and surround these guys. Get him into the center of our army. Battle line shifting here again. Our spear guard is starting to run. Yeah, this is a tough one. What we need to do is like goon squad up here. Just keep everyone wrapped around my bulldogs. Keep everyone close. Just use them as basically like meat shields for the bulldogs.
If we continue like this, we will smash the enemy.
Is that 124 wretches? That's exactly what I need. Plus some spear guard. They're gonna start coming back. Yeah, we're gonna give these guys the chance they need to reform, and they're gonna be important. Getting over here and defending our flank. Need to keep my spear guard alive. I see what he's gonna do. He's gonna crash into the rear of me. Need to get over here and delay that if we can. Oh no, maybe we'll try and wrap around him.
Our men have fought long and are becoming tired.
Okay, it's not as dire as it is over here. We need to move you guys over this way. I know you're tired, but hold the line. Shit. That breaking was what's gonna end us here. That's okay. Doriath does kind of have the chops needed to do terrible things to this build, so it's alright. We did well, I think.
Our foes appear to be gaining the upper hand in this battle.
Yeah, there they go. We're all exhausted. It's a close one though. Really close. 91-92. Especially since this is a counter comp in a lot of ways to the Agband mid-tier spam, especially in this particular iteration. Why am I playing without banners enabled? I don't know. Sometimes I do not, and sometimes I just forget to turn them back on. It's not a big deal. Yeah, that was a close one. I kind of thought we were gonna like crush the Donathan Mablung over here, but weren't able to do the damage we needed to in the time we had. So that kind of sucks, but plays that way sometimes. 1-1, we lost one. Can't be too mad about it. Yeah, that's a really close one. Not a lot of troops left there. A good old battle. Again, we did well against Doriath. That's the kind of build that can really be a big problem for us. Well, just Doriath in general can be a big problem for the mid-tier spam. We'll certainly try Agband again with some of the different units. Namely our Balrogs and our other such nasty things that would have been a big help in this. But yeah, it was a good game. Let's take a look at some of our casualties here. Decent. Bulldogs, 223. Legionnaires did alright. Halberdiers didn't do amazing. The Ravagers, though, that's the important stuff. And the Reavers did okay, given the circumstances. The Thralls we were able to use to pretty good effect, and I'm having a lot of fun with the Thralls, actually. They've, in the last 2 games, at least, they've been pretty useful. They do pay for themselves, being only a 400 cost archer. The Wretches did terribly, but that's to be expected, and our Spear Guard did. Alright, they were mostly there for their morale effect and to help us hold. If they were Macemen, might have gone a little bit farther, but then we wouldn't have got the morale effect, so there is that trade-off. Yeah, that was a fun one. I don't have any more time, unfortunately. So I have to go, but